Okay, Mr. Breiler, welcome back to the healthy population.
It's good to be back.
Yeah, I was dealing with something similar to that too. I never know if it's like a mix of allergies or like what the hell it might be. I actually went and got tested for COVID, even though I'm vaccinated, and I was just like, God, man, some of these symptoms, you never know. I had a little bit of a scratchy throat, like a congested cough, a headache that kind of lingered. I'm like, God, all those are
Yeah.
front and center on that symptom list, but it wasn't COVID. So anyway,
I feel like it's going to be like that for a while.
I
Right?
know.
Like
Anytime you get
anytime you
anything,
get
I
sick,
know.
and it's like, and I was telling you about this before. We were one of the families that basically stayed home and isolated
Yeah.
for an entire year, and now school's out. We've got our kids back out playing with the neighborhood kids, and just like kids do, they share germs and then they bring the germs home, and so
Yeah.
I went over a year. Like made it the whole winter, not even getting sick, and now that the kids are back out playing with the neighbor kids, we're starting to share some of the sickness again. So it's all part of the joys of parenting.
Little germ factories, man.
Yeah.
You bring them around and you get
Yeah.
it. There's nothing you can do about it, really. So, anyway, yeah, glad you're feeling better again. That's kind of why we took Monday off. I mean, we were both. I don't know. I forget. I feel like I had something that was going on, and there wasn't a whole lot to talk about either. That was another thing. We were kind of spitballing back and forth,
Yeah.
and you were ready to suck it up, but I was like, let's just take the day. Let's just take the day. We'll make a list. We'll come back to it, and here we are on this Wednesday. So glad to have you back. Glad you're feeling better, and we'll get into our question. We'll get into our interesting first question. This is a funny one because I don't know if I saw this on social media somewhere, or if it just kind of popped into my head randomly. I don't know, but I talked to my wife about it, and we had a pretty fun discussion. So I thought you and I would do the same.
All right,
Here
let's hear it.
we go. Chris, what are 5 movies
Ooh.
that you have seen at least 10 times?
Okay,
And this list tells a lot about a person, I think, personally.
this is great, and this was you didn't tell me about this ahead of time.
No.
This is just right off. All right, so
Yep, off the top.
number one on the list, Twister, probably the greatest movie ever made. The fact that Bill Paxton didn't win an Emmy for that is a tragedy
Oh, man.
in and of itself.
And people are jumping off of Chris's Twitter page and Facebook page as we speak.
So number one is
That's great.
Twister. Number two is Big Trouble in Little China. Now that's a cult classic.
Okay.
I don't know how many people out there have seen it. If you haven't seen it, you have to watch it. If you have seen it, you get it. You understand what it's all about. After those two movies, I don't know that I've got, Big Lebowski's in there. Wow, five is hard. I would put Big Lebowski in there. I would put, oh geez, I mean some of the old Friday the 13th movies. I mean I've seen, all those old horror movies like from the the 90s and the 80s. I've seen all those multiple times, so I would throw those in there. But anybody who knows me well, the top two, Twister and Big Trouble in Little China. Those are my that's in my DNA.
That is so funny, dude. I've seen Twister. I don't. You feel more strongly about it than I do. I haven't seen the second. I haven't seen Big Trouble in Little China. I mean, I've heard of it, and I know it's like an older movie, and it is a cult movie. I've never seen it. I don't even know what it's about. So I'll put that on my list, man. I need to watch that movie.
You better holler at your boy Zach because he knows all about it. We even
Okay.
talked about creating a theme park. A Big Trouble in Little China theme park and how profitable it would be. So.
And that's the end of the podcast for tonight. We'll talk to you. No, I'm just kidding. That's hilarious. No, I've never seen it. I've never seen it. It's not anything I've heard a lot about. I know it, like you said, it is kind of one of those cult following movies. I know that much about it, but I've never seen it. So this is funny, man. My wife makes fun of me for this a lot. I am like I don't want to offend anybody, but I may have like a disorder. Like the way that I can watch movies repeatedly, she just cannot comprehend. So I have quite a few that I know for a fact I've seen more than 10 times, like a lot. There are 3 that stand out to me immediately at the very, very top of my list that I've probably seen, and I'm not exaggerating, I've probably seen more than 40 times, 30, 40, 50 times, depending on some of them. One of them is Goodfellas. That's my favorite movie.
Okay.
I've seen it. I don't even know. I've seen it, I guarantee, more than 30 times from start to finish, and I've obviously caught bits and pieces of it more than that as well. But that's probably my favorite movie of all time, so that's certainly up there. Wedding Crashers is up there because, I mean, I like it a lot. It's not as old. It's not like a classic movie, but I've seen it a lot, and I put it on when I went to bed almost every night in college. So, like, that's one that was, like, here, 2000. What are we talking? 2004, 5, 6. DVD player, you throw it in there, you put it on. It's like white noise in the background, and I just let it roll. So I haven't seen it to the end a ton of times because I would fall asleep before it was over. But maybe hundreds of times because I would just put it on every night when I went to bed. And then there's 2 or 3 or 4 in a row after that I've also seen a ton of times. Shawshank Redemption, which is another one of my probably second on my all-time favorite list. Good Will Hunting would probably be second or third on my all-time favorite list, and then some more newer ones that I've seen a ton: Superbad, War Dogs, Menace to Society, Friday, Boys in the Hood.
Don't Be a Menace.
I haven't seen Don't Be a Menace that many times, but I've seen it. I owned it back in the day when DVDs were like a thing. Man, dude, I could make a long list of movies that I watch over.
So the top 5, is difficult, but I've got my top 2. I think everybody has a top 2. Like these are my 2 movies. Like if they're on, if I'm watching TV and I see it on TV, I'm not skipping by it. So what are your top 2?
Goodfellas.
Okay.
Probably Shawshank. I think that's 1, 2, and then Good Will Hunting is. Goodfellas is 1, and then I think Shawshank Redemption and Good Will Hunting are like 2A, 2B.
That's pretty highbrow, man. I'm over here like Sharknado.
Hey, man, I know those are like classically people's favorite movies a lot, but I love them. I think there's a reason why so many people like them. I think they're really freaking good. I'll go off the map a little bit. One of my all-time favorite comedy movies this is another one I've seen more than 10 times. I have it on DVD. Nothing to Lose with Martin Lawrence and Tim Robbins.
Hilarious.
Maybe one of my favorite comedies of all time.
Very underrated comedy.
Super underrated.
The spider on
Incredible.
What is it, on his head?
Yeah, on his head.
Right? Yeah. No,
there's a lot of
movie.
There's a lot of F words in it, a lot of my favorite quotes right now, I wouldn't bust them off, but one of my all-time favorites. And dude, I could just even saying that movie makes me think of another one and another one.
Yeah.
Dude, I saw The Nutty Professor 40 times when I was younger. I can quote almost the whole movie. So there's there's the lowbrow one for you. You got The Nutty Professor, the Beverly Hills Cop #1, the first one, and amazing. Dude, I don't know. The list goes on and on for me. I am a big time repeat movie watcher. I will put them on and watch them and watch them and watch.
They've done studies about that though, and people who like to watch, like there's a lot of people who just like to watch The Office over and over. Like if you turn on Comedy Central, like they're mostly playing The Office every single day on repeat. But it's like a comfort thing for people. Like I love watching a movie I've seen 1,000 times just because. It's like a piece of home. It's familiar. It's something that you can sort of think back to different times that you watch the movie and kind of have that nostalgia. So I totally get that.
I also don't care if I have to get up and go do something. I come back. I'm like, okay, here's where the movie is now. I'm not worried about what I'm missing or if I do it all day. I work from home. I have worked from home for quite a while. We've got subscriptions to all the stuff. The Netflix, Disney Plus, Hulu, Amazon Video. Just keep putting stuff on and watching it. And man,
I'll be honest, I'm a little bit surprised that we don't have more Twister fans or Big Trouble in Little China fans in the comment section here. I figured we would be flooded. So crickets.
Yeah, crickets on that. But I just I wear them out. My wife will come in the room sometimes and be like, "Oh my God, you're watching it again." I'm like, "Yeah, I am, and I'm going to watch it again tomorrow and maybe the next day too."
Yeah.
And it kind of gets like that with even movies that are coming out like now. Like I'll watch a movie for the first time that's not very old, and I'll be like, "All right, I'm going to watch this again." I just watched Remember the Titans just now. That's another one. I've seen that movie like 50 times. I can put on movies that I've seen and watch them over and over and over again.
Well, when it comes to Twister, I know every single line of every single character, and so when I watch it with my wife, quite often I'm acting it out as it's happening. Like I just.
Are you like a weather dude? Are you a storm chaser wannabe guy? Like is that?
Oh yeah. I'm big into the weather. But I could have easily been a storm chaser. I feel it like when the weather takes a turn. Like over the last couple of days, we've had some dark clouds rolling in. There's something inside of me that like wants to get out there and play in it and be in it. It's that Bill Paxton in me. So
I love it, man. I love it. I don't hate the movie Twister, but it's one of those ones that's kind of made fun of. So it's
awful. It's so awful. It's great.
I'm surprised that you put it as number one. Like
Number one.
Your wife chimes in on the comments. There we go. Give her some
She
love.
knows. She knows.
Super annoying.
Yeah, she loves it. I actually just paid $3.99 for it on demand on DirecTV. So.
Fantastic. All right, let's get into some real stuff now that we're losing viewers at a rapid pace. And
we are hemorrhaging viewers.
And 10 minutes into the talk, we'll actually get to something Michigan. All right, we put up a story on this. Jim Harbaugh's rank among college coaches, where he's currently at. I forget who was this Athlon?
This was Sporting News.
Sporting News. Okay,
Yeah.
I think Athlon was something that I may have put up.
Yep.
About maybe the big. I don't know. We'll you can check out where it's from. It's been linked and cited on WolverineDigest.com. But Jim Harbaugh's rank among college coaches. We'll look at this list in a couple different ways. First of all, where Harbaugh is, and then second of all, if we have any disagreements on some of the other guys.
Yeah.
Jim Harbaugh comes in at number 15. At first glance, when I hear 15, I'm like, I don't know, man. I think earlier when he was hired, he was higher than that. I mean, everybody thought he was higher than that. And now I'm thinking he's like maybe a little lower than that. But when I look at the list, like, I think that's actually pretty good. I do think that's actually pretty good. There's a couple of guys I think I might move ahead and behind him, actually.
Yeah.
So I think he stays at about 15. I don't know. This was your deal. You threw it up. What are you thinking?
It's weird, man. It's the same thing. Like, I feel like when Harbaugh first came in, you would easily put him top 5, right? Like year 1, year 2, you would have him as a top 5 college football coach. But yeah, when I saw him at 15, I didn't know what to think about it. It seemed like it was a little bit high, and then I started to read through some of the names, and it's like, okay, I get that. I don't really have an issue with it. And obviously in the article that I put together, I was focusing on just the Big Ten coaches
right.
to see where things shake out. And as I'm looking at the list, I know that there was a lot of pushback. People thought Paul Chryst should be ahead of Jim Harbaugh.
That's the biggest one for me.
Right, given what he's accomplished. I'm not sure why he's not ahead of Jim Harbaugh. But, I mean, even if you look at the guys behind Jim Harbaugh, Paul Chryst, Kirk Ferentz, Tom Allen, you could make a case that all of those guys heading into 2021 should be ranked ahead of Jim Harbaugh. So I think, given the way things have played out, it is more than fair for him to be sitting in that number 15 spot.
Yeah, Paul Chryst he's at number 17. I think I'd put him in like my top 8, maybe 9.
Really? Okay.
I mean, he's boring as hell. He doesn't make you want to tune in necessarily to whenever he talks or any of the things he has to say. And even like watching Wisconsin's not that fun. I mean, if you're just breaking it down on a purely like entertainment level, but they just freaking win, man. They beat Michigan by 38 points last year.
Yeah.
And the year before that, they had him down 35-0, I believe it was, before Michigan finally got on the scoreboard. I don't know how you put him behind Jim Harbaugh. I really don't. I know he's in the West, and that's not the East. There's no doubt about that. But I mean, every year they don't recruit that well. They don't get high flying guys, and they just go out there and they beat just about everybody they play. I mean, like that's what Wisconsin does every year. So he's probably the one that I have the biggest hang up with. I think a lot of people have a much higher opinion of Brian Kelly and Jimbo Fisher than I do. Yeah. They come in at number 4 and number 5. I wouldn't have them that high. I think the top 3 is pretty much just about undisputable. Nick Saban 1, Dabo Swinney 2, Lincoln Riley 3. I would put Ryan Day 4. I would have him at number 4.
Yeah.
And there's a couple different ways to look at this. I wanted to bounce this off of you too. Like, all right, are you looking at this list and putting it, because I think it changes things a little bit. Are you looking at this list and putting it together based on what guys have done, are currently doing, and what you think they will do? Because I think that's a big discussion for Jim Harbaugh. What he's done versus what he's expected to do this year are like very far apart.
Right.
But I don't think that means you just take away what he's accomplished in the past, even when he was at Stanford. And I mean, the NFL stuff gets a little. I mean, that's a different league. I don't know if you count that or not, but I wonder what the parameters are for this particular list. Or the way that my mind kind of goes through this immediately is, who would I want coaching my team?
Right.
That's I don't know why, but that's the way that I thought about it. So for me, it's Nick Saban, it's Dabo Swinney, it's Lincoln Riley, it's Ryan Day, it's Dan Mullen. That's my top 5. They have Dan Mullen at number 8 on this list. So And Kirby Smart's right there, too. He's at number 7 on this list. He would probably be number 6 for me. Then I would start to look at Brian Kelly. I don't know what it is about Jimbo Fisher. I don't think he's a good coach. I just don't.
Yeah.
I know he won a title, and it wasn't that long ago, and it was with Jameis, but I've just never have been that impressed with him. I don't know. I don't know if it's the way he conducts himself. I don't know. I don't really know. I'd have to really dive into the numbers, but he would not be number 5 on my list.
You know what? I think part of it is because he comes from Nick Saban. Right, so
Yeah.
I think there's maybe part of that he's just another extension of Nick Saban, but he's not like I'm the same way. Like I'm not impressed with him. He obviously does pretty well, but he doesn't stand out to me. I think one of the interesting things is you look at the Big Ten coaches that are on this list. You know, take your pick. Which one of these guys would you choose over Jim Harbaugh? Ryan Day, obviously, yes. Mm-hmm. James Franklin.
I wouldn't.
No, I wouldn't.
I wouldn't.
And Franklin comes in at number 11. Harbaugh's 15. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't take Franklin over Harbaugh. What about Pat Fitzgerald?
I think I would.
I
think I would
100% take Pat Fitzgerald right now.
So the only reason I have pause when I think about Fitzgerald is because it's just he's Northwestern. Like he just he was an All-American there. Like that, it's in his blood. I just wonder if he'd be able to recreate that at another place. I think he probably would. I mean, the dude's he's super sharp. He's got the intensity. He's got the mindset, the makeup. He's adapted throughout the years. And he's done a lot with not very much. I mean,
I was going to say
Northwestern doesn't recruit anywhere near some of the other top tier teams in the Big Ten, and they're competitive and feisty, and they get wins they shouldn't get.
Yep.
So I would take Pat Fitzgerald over Jim Harbaugh.
Yeah, you talk about a team that punches above their weight all the time. Northwestern is that team. You can almost count on it once a year. You know, it's funny because you look at Michigan, you can almost count on it once a year. They'll lose a game that they shouldn't lose, right? And Northwestern, it's completely the opposite. They will come and if they don't win it, they will battle a team like Ohio State. They'll do something like that at least once a year where they come out and they just show out. And I think, he's done a lot more with a lot less. So he's somebody that I would take over Jim Harbaugh, at least at this point.
Here's an interesting question then. Let's do this talk right here. Would you take Brian Kelly over Jim Harbaugh?
No, because I hate Brian Kelly. I don't like his personality. I don't like his face. I don't like his sideline demeanor. I don't like anything about Brian Kelly.
I wouldn't take him either, and I think I can even remove some of that from the equation, even though I'm right there with you. I mean, he just comes off like an ass all the time. Yeah. I mean, he gets good recruits, and it seems like his players play hard for him. So I would assume if you talk to the people that know him and are around the program and play for him, they wouldn't say very bad things about him. But I'm with you. I don't like him. I just don't. But I know they've made the playoff and they've been really good. I don't know what it is. I don't think I would trade for him either. Definitely wouldn't Jimbo Fisher, Kirby Smart, Dan Mullen, Matt Campbell. I would. Yeah. I don't. I mean, you get into the well, why are they able to do what they do though? A little bit with what we hear about Kirby and what we hear about Jimbo and what you hear about some of those guys down south. But I mean, the success is there. The way they recruit, again, that's kind of what comes with it. Mac Brown, I think, is too high at number 10. I like Mac Brown, and he's got a title as well, and now he's coaching at another place at North Carolina and doing pretty well. But I think that's too high for him right now. Number 10.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I'm sure there's some Mac Brown supporters out there who could bring up a lot of really impressive things that he's done at UNC, but I just don't. On the surface, I don't see that. I don't see Mac Brown as a top 10 coach in the country. I wouldn't put him ahead of Pat Fitzgerald or Paul Chryst. I mean, there's no way. I think Mario Cristobal is in that discussion as well at number 16. Would you take Mario Cristobal instead of Jim Harbaugh?
The only reason I might say yes is just because it's something different. Like I feel like I've seen enough of Jim Harbaugh at this point to know what it is that I'm even willing to roll the dice on something that might not be as good in hopes that it could be better, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And honestly, the rest of this list, everybody behind Jim Harbaugh, I don't think I would take them over Jim Harbaugh. Mike Gundy, 18. I wouldn't take him. Kyle Whittingham. He's been pretty damn good at Utah, but I don't. It's like you just said to me. I'm thinking I want to get if I'm going to trade one of these guys for Harbaugh, I need to know that they're going to be better, and I don't think you get that with Whittingham. Kirk Ferentz at number 20, a lot of longevity, a lot of success at a place that doesn't recruit top flight players either at Iowa. No. He's like Paul Chryst light. in my opinion. He's also in the West. He's had some good success, but I'm not taking him over Jim
Dry
Harbaugh.
personality. I mean, I don't know him personally, but there's nothing I've seen from him that's like, listen to him in a press conference. It's like,
we'll see him in a couple weeks. We'll see all these Big Ten guys at the Big Ten Media Days, and you'll get a little bit more of a vibe from them that way. Tom Allen is an interesting one at Indiana.
It's so funny because Tom Allen, I remember when he gave that passionate pregame speech, I think it was when Indiana came to Michigan, and he was frothing at the mouth and spitting everywhere, and it's like the clip of him in the pregame speech kind of went viral, and people were making fun of him. But clearly, that dude has figured it out in Indiana, or at least it seems like, I feel like when you look at what Indiana has been traditionally, pump the brakes a little bit. It's not like they're ready to compete with the likes of Ohio State, but I've said this before. With Michigan continuing to tread water, there's other programs within the Big Ten Conference that are trying to jockey for position and sort of replace where Michigan is at, the third best team in the East. Okay, fine. It looks like Indiana is well on their way to doing that.
Yeah, arguably the best quarterback in the conference with Michael Penix. You'll see if he's healthy when he comes back. He's coming off an injury, but Tom Allen's another one. He's like the Pat Fitzgerald with rabies. Like that's what he's like. He is Indiana. He played there, Indiana guy. Yeah. Hardcore, like you said, frothing at the mouth, and would give his all for that program. I don't know if he'd get the same thing at another school, but he's got it figured out at Indiana. But he's if Pat Fitzgerald's going to come in with the crew cut and the perfectly tucked in shirt and the clean shoes, Tom Allen's going to come in looking like he just had a 3-day bender in Vegas or something. That's how he is.
I'll put it this way: it's like when you and I think we talked about it when we were up at the Ferris camp, and all the coaches are walking around, and all of a sudden here comes Jim Harbaugh, and even for much as he has come up short during his time at Michigan, there's still like this aura about him, right? Like he has that something. I don't know that I would, I haven't really been in the same vicinity as Tom Allen, but I don't know that I would feel that with Tom Allen. There's certain guys that just have that thing about them. I don't know that he's one of those.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment. I mean, I haven't been around a lot of these guys in person, but I think you're right. I mean, guys, we've all been around people like that, and maybe some people think that about you or I. I don't know.
I'm sure.
I remember, this is actually I'm not trying to toot my own horn here because I would have probably not even picked myself at this time. I was like maybe a second or third year teacher teaching 7th grade science, and my buddy across the hall had been teaching for maybe 5 or 6 years. He was like 6'4", 230, played college basketball, big old dude, had a beard, just a burly, strong-looking guy, and much more experience than me. And we actually did like a survey asking our students like which one of us on the team would they like to have as their leader, and I won. And I couldn't believe that because, like I said, I was like, I probably would have picked him over myself. Yeah. At least at that time, I was like 24 years old or something. I don't know. I'm pretty confident in myself now in terms of a lot of things, but I don't know. So, like you said, I think it is just something that people have. Jim Harbaugh seems to have it, even though I think his time is. I think he's run his course at Michigan, and I've said that a lot, but there is still you walk up and you're like right there with him and you're talking to him, you're like, that's freaking Jim Harbaugh.
It's
man.
It's like meeting a TV character in real life. You know what I mean? Like you've seen this guy all over the place.
And that might be part of it. I mean, he was an NFL coach. He coached in the Super Bowl. Yeah. He's been a high profile.
He was on Saved by the Bell, for Christ's sake.
An NFL veteran. I mean, certainly all of that stuff kind of plays into what he's about now and how he carries and conducts himself. So I'm with you, man. I haven't met a lot of these other guys. I've been in the same room and been around to maybe ask a question to the other Big Ten guys. Ryan Day, I mean, you'll see when we see these guys he's as sharp as any guy I've ever heard speak about football. I remember the first time I saw him, his first appearance after Urban Meyer left, I'm like, I think they just got somebody even sharper than Urban Meyer. Like, how the hell did that happen? Because Urban Meyer's as sharp as they come. I mean, just how he stands, how he looks, how he talks, how he answers questions. And Ryan Day is that way exactly.
It's almost like the transition that Michigan basketball went through from Beeline to Howard, right?
Like, how did that happen? How could they possibly find someone who might have been better? And I'm not quite ready to say that Ryan Day is better than Urban Meyer, but he's right there. I mean, he's right there coming out of the gate. I skipped over a name that I think I don't even know belongs on this list, period, and it's Ed Orgeron. I know what he did with LSU and Joe Burrow in the season that they had, and how amazing that offense was, and how they just blew the doors off of people. I get it, but I really think that was like the most perfect storm of perfect storms, and I don't even know how much he had to do with it. He's the face of the program.
Would you take him right now over Harbaugh?
No, I wouldn't. I absolutely wouldn't. I don't know if he can. I don't know if he knows even what state he's in right now. I like he just
Yeah.
he's like a mascot to me.
Yeah.
Like if I have to have
character.
someone like draw up something to win a game, like I don't think he can do it as good as anybody on this list. I think he would be a really good recruiter. He's certainly like LSU through and through. Like, you know, you can barely understand the guy when he talks, and he probably bleeds gumbo. But like, I just don't think in a crunch time situation, he's not the guy I want to lean on. I don't know.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I, again, would view it as a lateral move and would only make it for the sake of having something different and to see. Because I feel like I said before, I feel like we know what we're getting with Jim Harbaugh.
Mm-hmm.
So the unknown at this point is appealing, is almost more appealing than the known, right? I would almost rather roll the dice and risk it. But yeah, you're right. I don't think he's a surefire. Like, yeah, I would definitely take him above Jim Harbaugh.
And then the last four on the list: Gary Patterson, Mark Stoops, David Shaw, and Clay Helton. Certainly not swapping any of those guys in for Jim Harbaugh. And they're good coaches. I don't really have anything.
Where's Mel Tucker on the list? Is he anywhere on there?
He didn't make the cut.
He didn't. Okay.
He didn't make the cut, but
Shoot.
yeah. Well, we'll see what he does at Michigan State. I mean, let's take off the hate for a second, because I think I love taking shots at Michigan State at every turn possible. If you're a Michigan State fan, like, how are you feeling about having Mel Tucker run that program, though?
Based on what I can see on social media, they feel pretty damn good about it right now. I mean, they, it seems like Mel Tucker is bringing that, almost like what's going on with Michigan, that the new coaching staff is younger, that's more vibrant, there's more energy. And for as much good as Mark D'Antonio did for that program,
it was dead when he left.
It seems like it definitely needed to be revitalized, and that, Mel Tucker is well on his way to doing that. There's pictures of him on social media with the hat and the glasses and the cigar and, the cool recruiting pictures. And so I feel like he's embracing his role there. The one thing that's consistent is they seem to embrace the role of, that Spartan dog mentality. And we're going to take a bunch of 2, 3, and maybe a couple 4 stars, and we're going to turn them into these guys that have that chip on their shoulder. So I think from that standpoint, you're going to see more of the same from Michigan State.
All right, I want to throw this up because you were a little more outspoken than I was. We both had the same answer, but neither of us said we would take Brian Kelly.
Yeah.
Being mean and not having good sideline demeanor isn't a good enough answer when he's had 4 straight 10-plus win seasons and 2 playoff appearances.
Why is that not a good answer? I don't like the guy. I don't like him. You're asking me if I would take him. I don't like him. No, I wouldn't take him.
Yeah, I mean, I know what I said, and I know where he's at on this list. He's at number 4. Yeah. I think I would put him at number 6. It's not like I'm going to drop him down to 22 or something. I personally would put Ryan Day in my list of who I would take instead of Jim Harbaugh. I would put Ryan Day and Dan Mullen ahead of Brian Kelly.
Yeah.
Now, if you talk about resume, then no, you can't put Dan Mullen ahead of Brian Kelly because he hasn't done as much. But look, I hear you, Free Republic. Thank you for the comment there. I respect it, and you're not wrong. I said it even as I started talking about Brian Kelly. I'm like, I know he's been good. I know he's got the playoff. I know he's recruited. I know he's done this. I know he's done that. I don't know, man. There's something there.
You know what Brian Kelly is? Brian Kelly is Verner's. Some people really like Verner's. Other people don't get it and don't want anything to do with it.
I like Verner's.
I hate Verner's. I want nothing to do with it. I hate the taste of it.
Dude,
and to
Boston
me,
Cooler with it? Come on, bro.
No, that's what Brian Kelly is. Like, some people just they're like, yeah,
Verner's.
of course Brian Kelly, and I'm like, no, it's disgusting.
He's Verner's. I like that. All right, I'm going to throw 5 names at you that I thought of that are not on this list that I have at least a little bit of intrigue about. Not saying that they belong on this list or that they would be high on the list or, would replace Jim Harbaugh if we had an opportunity to. But there's 5 guys that I just randomly, looking through head coaches, came up with that, I'm interested in what they're going to do, and maybe they'll be on this list in a year or two, and just to see if we have any more heated disagreements like we just did about Verner's. Everybody's favorite, the the designer belt wearing, slippery shoe having, crazy cheesy ass antics, PJ Fleck.
Oh man. No, like to me, PJ Fleck is like all the things you just named, like that's what he is. Like I don't know, obviously he had tremendous success when he was with Western Michigan, and his time in Minnesota, he started off fairly high. I don't know, if he got to 11 wins or 10 wins or whatever it was, but
I think it was 11. I think you're right.
Yeah. But I think that PJ Fleck is one of those guys, maybe almost like Harbaugh in the sense that it's really cool when he's first around and this whole row the boat shit and all that stuff is really exciting. Right. And you're putting a paddle decal on everything, and I think at some point, at least for me as a fan, I would think it just kind of wears thin. You're like, okay, I get what this guy's about, and you're sort of over it. So. The fact that he's not mentioned in the top 25, I don't see a problem with it because outside of like his first year with Minnesota, it seems like he's just meh.
He was just such a hot name a couple years ago that it's like you kind of forget sometimes.
Yep.
He hasn't been that great over the last couple of years. And, I mean, Michigan absolutely handled Minnesota in the opener last year and got a lot of Michigan fans excited. And
Michigan was really bad, come to find out.
Yeah, and so what does that say about what Minnesota was? I'm with you. I mean, I've seen PJ Fleck up close at Big Ten Media Days, and, like, I think he's, like, more concerned about, like, his like, outfit matching than he is about, like, having real substance to his program. I don't know. That's what it looks like from the outside. Minnesota fans and PJ Fleck supporters would probably like to take one of those those oars to our head at this point, but that's what I see. All right, how about Gus Malzahn? Gus Malzahn.
Now a big fan.
Now at UCF after getting canned from Auburn, so obviously like things didn't work out there.
I think, definitely not in the top 25. He's a guy that, during his time in Auburn, you hear about his name because he's at a premier program, but I don't know. There's just something about him. He's got the same kind of vibe going on that Brian Kelly has going on. I don't know what it is. I don't know what the deal is. I just don't like him. So for that reason and that reason alone, he doesn't belong in the top 25.
Yeah, I mean, he's probably going to do some pretty cool things on offense with UCF, and he's won an SEC title. I mean, like, the dude's done some pretty good things before.
Yeah.
But, yeah, just at this stage, kind of down the list a little bit, and I think, I don't think he necessarily deserves to be on the top 25. I don't know. I'm thinking, like, maybe I don't know enough about, like, Mark Stoops, at Kentucky.
Yeah.
I mean, like, if you could go out and grab Gus Malzahn or Mark Stoops, it's like I'd probably grab Malzahn. I think I don't know. I'd have to look a little bit deeper into what they're both doing most recently. Gary Patterson's another one. I know he's just been kind of steady,
Not a fan.
Steady Eddie at TCU, but like.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. He doesn't move the needle for me. David Shaw is just on a really downward trajectory. He was as good as any coach in the country for a while there, but I'm kind of surprised he's on this list because they were bad a year or two ago.
Yeah.
And then Clay Helton's had his up and downs too. All right, how about he doesn't belong on the list because he just hasn't done enough yet, but I'm really, really intrigued to see what he does at Tennessee. Josh Heupel.
Yeah, same. It's obviously too early for him to be on this list, but you'll get a pretty good indication of how good he's going to be in the upcoming season. And, for Michigan fans, there's an incentive to watch because Joe Milton will maybe be throwing the ball. So, we'll see how it shakes out in Tennessee.
And then just all aboard, dude. Woo woo! The Lane train, baby. The Lane train. Dude. Where do you fall on Lane Kiffin?
You know what's weird? I love Lane Kiffin.
I do too. I like him, dude.
I can't help but like the guy. He's just, he's one of those dudes that, like, I don't know. There's like definitely a how do I want to say it? There's a slime that's there, a coat of slime on Lane Kiffin. I know he's not. I don't think he's squeaky clean. I don't think he's a choir boy. But there's something about Lane Kiffin that I think, he knows the game of football. I feel like players probably like him. He just seems like a likable guy. I don't know that you're going to be able to avoid, violations
Sanctions,
with him as your head coach. But it'll be fun and interesting for the short time that he's there. So
count on 3 years of offense and some fun times, and then get him the hell out of Dodge, because that's about all he's worth. Yeah.
Yep.
And then last on the list that I threw on here, and again, the program is just not warranting him being on this list, but I've been very impressed with Greg Schiano. I mean, the way that Rutgers was an absolute pile of turds for so long, and now they're like at least competitive. I mean, they're not going to win anything big.
Yeah.
But he did some like national level stuff with Rutgers the first time around, and now he's back. And I mean, this is a team that got beat 78-0 by Michigan like 4 seasons ago. Like, that's insane. That's insane. First of all, that Michigan was able to do that where they're at now, and that Rutgers was able to let that happen. And then last year Rutgers triple overtime against Michigan. They beat Michigan State, and I mean, like, they were a doormat. And now when you take like the bottom 4 or 5 teams in the Big Ten and you throw Rutgers in there, you might say that Rutgers is one of the better ones out of that group, when it was like a no-brainer answer before that they were the worst team in the Big Ten.
Yeah.
So
I
just like what he seems to be able to do. I'm not saying like I'm a big fan or that I would trade Harbaugh out for him or that he belongs on the list, but I think he deserves a little shine for doing anything at Rutgers.
Yeah, and 2021, I think will, obviously last year was a strange year, and I think Rutgers even finished, what were they, 2-4, 2-5,
something like that.
Yeah, they weren't all that great last year. Obviously, they were competitive with Michigan, beat Michigan State. We'll see what they do this year, but I think that Rutgers is going to be as good in 2021 as they have been since they've joined the Big Ten Conference, which doesn't necessarily say a lot, but they should be somewhat competitive.
Do you have the entire list in front of you, or do you not?
I don't, but I can have it up here shortly.
I'm gonna slap it up real quick because I want to ask a funny question, and then we'll switch off of this. We're doing a lot of like non-Michigan stuff, but that's fine because there's not a lot of stuff going on right now.
Right.
And I think this is.
I got it up if you need it.
Okay, I'm going to throw it up anyway, just so if people are watching, they can kind of see it too. But all right, so we kind of went through the questions. We went through what we. It's not bad. You can see us both there with the list in the middle. That works.
Yeah, perfect.
What the list looks like per Sporting News, what we thought about Jim Harbaugh's spot. Would we move anybody around? Would we take anybody off? Add anybody in?
Mike Gundy at 18, man.
Yeah, he's a wiener.
I am not a Mike Gundy fan. Like, what? Dude, can we get rid of the mullet?
Like seriously,
what is that about?
It was kind of funny for like a season.
Knock it off.
What are you doing, bro?
Jesus Christ.
All right, who are you putting at number 1 on this list for who can hammer the most beers?
Oh, boy. Where is... I don't think he's on the list. We got Lane Kiffin not on the list. Okay, so whoever's in the top 25?
I know. I had a thought of who you might be thinking of.
All right, I'm going to go with... you know what? I'm going to go with Pat Fitzgerald because I feel like Fitzgerald might have been a bit of a frat boy back in the day. It seems like he's a dude that could do it.
I think he's passing on the beer and drinking sparkling water or something.
Wow.
That dude just sweats like I don't even. He sweats like what the hell, like sugar water or something. Like,
I'm going to tell him you said that at Big Ten.
Dude, he just looks so clean cut and put together all the time that I just can't imagine him doing anything.
Those are
crazy.
the guys you got to look out for.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I'm going with Coach O, dude. I mean, good God.
Oh shit, yeah, okay, all right, yeah. I mean, he would do it just for the sake of like winning it, right? He's just one of those crazy guys. He would scream a lot, yell a lot, and chug the most beers.
I mean, like by the time if you had a real contest with these guys trying to hammer beers, like he'd be shirtless by like beer number 3 and just getting after it
easily.
Tom Allen, I think, would be in the mix. He's just the kind of guy that's like, Tom, if you drink 14 beers, you might die. He's like, I'm drinking 18. It's fine.
I'm doing it.
Yeah, like
I'm risking death.
He would just do that. And, I mean, isn't Clay Helton like an outspoken like alcoholic? That might be a little insensitive for him.
Sure. Yeah, we'll keep him off. Yeah, I mean, I think you're right. Coach O probably. If you get Coach O and if you can get Lane Kiffin on that list, you're going to have...
All aboard the Lane train. He's going to be like, dude, forget the beers. I'm doing 12 shots right now. He's going to line them all up. He'll be red-faced, and his little polo will be popped.
Even Dabo, I could see Dabo being in that. He's...
See, I don't know much about Dabo in terms of... He's just such a Bible bumper, praise God for us winning the title all the time.
Those are the people you got to watch out for, man.
Yeah, you never know. You never know. But anyway, I just thought that was funny. I don't know what made me think of that, but I was like, dude, Coach O, hammering beers, I'm all about it. Let's see it. Who was? You were trying to think of somebody right off the rip? Like, who is he? Does it have to be in the top 25?
It was Lane Kiffin.
Oh, it was Lane.
Yeah.
My top choice of all time. Oh no, dude, he is eligible. I forgot he got rehired. Dude, it's Brett Bielema. It's freaking Brett Bielema. He's the head coach at Illinois now.
Okay. All right.
There are pictures of him like I just described, shirtless, red-faced, blacked out. Hammered. He's a hefty dude. He probably. I bet he can drink 25 beers in one sitting.
Last picture I saw of him, it looked like he was pushing 400. So
yeah, I bet he can drink 25 beers in one sitting. No problem. I mean, I know some people like that. You do too. Chesaning and New Lothrop people. We know some beer drinking MFers out there, dude. That will put them down.
Country folk can drink beer.
It's like, what do you do out there? We sit in the barn and we drink beer.
You go out to your favorite dirt road.
Yeah,
man. Like we had dirt roads that we would go
designated
dirt roads.
Yeah, no question. No question. All right, let's move on to the next topic. That was pretty fun. I like that one, actually. Didn't know it was going to get into all that stuff we got into, but it just kind of went that way. And you just, when it's the end of June and you're about ready to flip the calendar over to July, that's what you talk about. All right, I put up this story, and I can't really say I was surprised, but Michigan was not very well represented by the All Big Ten preseason team by Pro Football Focus. Obviously, a lot of what they do is very analytics driven, whether you like that or dislike that. I mean, it's reliable. It's not always true to form, but at least it's consistent. It's not just like, I don't like how Brian Kelly looks, so he's not on my not on my list. You've got some concrete, some substance to it. Aiden Hutchinson, the only first teamer on the entire list for Michigan, and only had 7 altogether. So let me run down the list for you real quick and just tell me, stop me if you hear something you don't agree with or whatever you think should have been there or might not be there that you think could be by the end of the season or whatever. So Aiden Hutchinson, first team as an edge. Daxton Hill, second team, obviously safety. Brad Hawkins, third team safety. Hassan Haskins, third team running back. Ronnie Bell, third team wide receiver. Andrew Stuber, honorable mention, offensive. I think they actually had him listed as a tackle, and it sounds like he's going to be playing guard, so that one alone makes me think, all right, is that really that accurate? And then another one, Brad Robbins, honorable mention at punter, and, I don't even know if he's going to be the punter. So, this list to me is just kind of it's really telling, dude. They have 7 guys on the various lists, and it's not like you can say, well, there might be some other teams that have more, but, Michigan's got a bunch of first-teamers. They don't. They don't. They have Aiden Hutchinson. That's it. This is less total players representing Michigan than Rutgers, Purdue, and Michigan State.
What do you say to that? It's.
So somebody got pissed at me on Twitter and kind of said that, this list doesn't mean shit. You telling me that Michigan's not as good as those other teams? I'm not saying that. Right. But would you like me to lie and say that Michigan deserves 10 first-teamers? Because tell me their names.
Right.
I mean, we've been over this a lot of times about the question mark. Honestly, dude, even Hassan Haskins, I like him as a running back quite a bit. You can't even tell me right now that he's going to lead the team in carries.
Well, the problem is you said
he probably will, but Corum could blow up, and Mike Hart could love him out of the gate.
Easily.
I would put money on Hassan Haskins leading the team in carries, but it's not a guarantee.
No, it's not. And the problem with Michigan fans is that, well, I don't know that it's just Michigan fans. It's the fans of any team is the players on the roster. You think you know what they're capable of, and that clouds your judgment. If you just look at the numbers and you look at the production, which I think is what this list is based on, right? It's analytics, and they're used.
I don't know for sure because
Okay.
obviously like Aiden didn't even hardly play last year, so for him to be
but he's got a resume,
he's got a resume and he's been productive, and
Yeah.
so is Ronnie Bell. I mean, like Ronnie Bell didn't have eye popping numbers last year, but he's been the leading receiver before. So yeah. Anyway,
I just think it's Michigan, it's weird to me as a fan that Michigan does not have like a marquee guy or multiple marquee guys, like a top wide receiver, a top running back, a top quarterback. You got Aiden Hutchinson, who I think everybody agrees with the fact that he's probably primed for a monster year, going to be his last year in Ann Arbor. He's healthy. Expect big things from him. But everybody else on the roster is a question mark. And it's a really weird place. Like, I think part of that is playing into the intrigue that I have for this upcoming season is because I have no idea what to expect. It could be Hassan Haskins. It could be Blake Corum. It could be Donovan Edwards. I don't know who's going to be carrying the load at the end of the season. Same goes for the quarterback position. Same goes for the offensive line. Same goes for the secondary.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Michigan is in a really weird spot right now where they've got a lot to figure out. And maybe, internally they know these things and they know who's who and who's going to do what. But from the outside looking in, this team is one big question mark. And I can't remember the last time as a Michigan fan I've gone into a season with like just not really knowing what to expect at all.
Yeah, I think you can, and not trying to search out the obvious negatives, but it's like for every person, for every player that someone wants to throw at you where they'll say like, "Oh, you know what you're going to get with this guy." Yeah. I think there's a very legitimate rebuttal that says you don't. Okay, because like Ronnie Bell, I love Ronnie Bell, love everything about the way he plays. He's a scrapper. He gets extra yards on every catch. He's hard to bring down. He blocks. He's tough. So somebody could very easily make the argument and say like, well, Ronnie Bell's only a third teamer. He's going to be better than that. He's going to lead the team in catches. He's going to do this. He's going to do that. Who's the quarterback?
Right. How's he going to get the ball?
Who's the quarter? Okay, so there's a pretty big question mark as to what. Not challenging Ronnie Bell, but I'm challenging what Ronnie Bell might do because of X, Y, Z.
We know what he can do when he gets the ball, but him getting the ball is a huge component of what he's able to do. Right?
And then you factor in Josh Gaddis's offense that has been trending down, and you throw in the unsettled offensive line with a new O-line coach that needs to protect the quarterback in order to give him time to throw to these guys. So like that's the argument against. I'm trying not to say against Ronnie Bell because I'm not saying he's not going to do well, but these are the question marks that you don't have answers to that make this hard to predict or hard to expect anything for this. That's why you see some person who knows football say Michigan's going to win 4 games, and then another person who really knows football say they might win 10. It's like it's all over the map.
Is there any other team where that's the case now?
That's a good question. I would love to talk to versions of us for every for every team and see what their thoughts are heading into the year. I mean, honestly, I think Washington's in a pretty similar boat, and Michigan and them, they're going to play week 2. There's a lot of question marks about what's going to happen there. Who's their starting quarterback? What's their defense going to look like with arguably their top player out with a torn Achilles? And what's their offensive identity under a predominantly defensive head coach? Like, I mean,
they do have 2 really good corners that are NFL prospects. And you talk about with Michigan, we don't know who the quarterback's going to be. Man, I mean, if you're inexperienced, assuming you're Cade McNamara, or your transfer quarterback coming in, assuming you're Alan Bowman, that week 2 game. I mean, I don't want to get off on a tangent about that, but man, it's not going to be easy. Yeah. It's not going to be. There's just too many unknowns.
So my other guy that I would probably put money on being really good this year is Daxton Hill. I've seen him in person when he was in high school. Obviously watched him very closely with this job over the last couple of seasons. I just think he has everything. He's fast, he's long, he's smart, he's quick, he can cover, he can ball skill. I mean, it's all there.
Yeah.
So that would be, if someone was like, well, come on, what argument are you going to punch in, and what holes are you going to punch into the Daxton Hill argument? We don't know jack about the defense. We know nothing about what the defense is going to look like. Now, I expect a guy like Daxton Hill who has so many physical traits, you put him out there anywhere, he's going to be good. So I would lean that he's going to be good. He will live up to second team all conference and maybe even exceed that. I think second team all Big Ten is the floor for him. I really do. I think that highly of him. I think he's going to be that good. But the argument is, do we even know for sure that he's going to play one of those safety spots, or is he going to be a full-time nickel? Is he going to eventually play corner because the other corners aren't getting it done like we saw early on last year? What's the scheme and the approach with a guy like Daxton Hill under new defensive coordinator Mike Macdonald? So again, when you feel pretty good about something, you don't have to look very far to find some uncertainties and some question marks and some reasons why you just don't know what you're going to get. I already mentioned Hassan Haskins. I feel good about him, but I mean, if Blake Corum was the starter and got 25 carries in week 1, I wouldn't be like, where's Haskins? Get him in there.
Right.
Like he's not that kind of guy where you're going to say he has to be the starter.
Yeah.
And then when you talk about Stuber and Robbins, I already said it in the little intro, like I don't even know what position Andrew Stuber's going to play. I think it's probably right guard, but I don't know that for sure. Again, there's another question mark. And the same thing with Brad Robbins. Is he going to be the punter from day one, or is it going to be one of these pretty touted, preferred walk-on guys, Tommy Doman, the freshman from last year's class? I mean, it is just across the board, man. It really is. And even Aiden, who I think is a stud and is a potential first, second round draft pick, how is he going to be used? I think how he's going to be used is going to be much better under Mike Macdonald than what we've seen under Don Brown. But even that, again, with that defense that we just don't know anything about, we're all waiting and seeing. That's like on every single level. It's so crazy, dude. I think you're right, man. I have never felt less informed about what we're going to see going into a season.
No idea. And you know what
and then coming off a COVID year where it was like a shortened season and we haven't seen anything from anybody.
So there's the COVID year, and then I don't know how much we're going to learn from Western Michigan.
Yeah, that too.
Michigan's going to go out and. I'm not even, people are like, well, you can't look past week 1. It's like, I'm looking past week 1 because if we're in a spot where we can't look past, as fans, we can't look past Western Michigan, and get excited for the Washington game. Like, we're in a really bad spot if we can't do that. Like, Michigan will handle their business against Western Michigan, but I don't think we're really going to know anything about what this team is, who they are until week 2, and it's all going to happen on like a really, really big stage in a primetime spot. And just that fact alone, like I said, the intrigue is there because I know nothing about this team, what to expect, who's going to be the guy, none of that.
So here's a question on this, since normally we kind of do questions at the end, but this is exactly what we're talking about right now. Is Alan Bowman considered a proven talent? I would say yes. Yeah. I would say yes with the stats. He's thrown for more than 5,000 yards and more than 30 touchdowns already. He started 16 games. That's proven in my opinion. Now, is he good enough to take the starting job right away? I don't know. I mean, Cade showed some decent things in very limited action last year, and J.J. McCarthy is probably the most naturally talented on the roster, but he's a baby. I mean, so what are you gonna get out of him? And everything we heard out of spring ball is that he just flat out wasn't ready yet. So I would say that Bowman is proven, but he's not proven as like an automatic. He's not so good that he's the guy. Earlier on in the year, I think we were both there. I thought it was going to be Bowman. I thought he's a grad transfer guy. He's coming in. He's not coming to stand on the sidelines. He's going to be the guy. The more that it gets closer, I don't know, man. I don't know what's going to happen at quarterback, and it's by far the most important position. So that's the biggest question mark, and the one that really is going to determine what this team does.
The only thing you can say about Bowman for sure is that he's the most experienced.
Yeah.
Like that much we know about him. And when it comes to on-field experience at the quarterback position,
it's valuable, man.
That's valuable. That's really valuable. And so the difference between Bowman and McNamara is Bowman comes with all this in-game experience, and McNamara is going to show up with the camaraderie, and he's been a part of the program.
Familiarity,
and so
system.
That's going to be the two things that I think clash. Is Bowman's experience and in-game experience enough to get him past Cade McNamara, who's been with the program for a number of years? And I think it's pretty safe to say at this point that McCarthy is not going to be in the conversation for taking that QB1 spot at least week
at the
1,
beginning.
Right?
Yeah, at least at the beginning. We'll see how he progresses over the year. All right, we're getting close to an hour. I was going to say let's just cut it here and talk about this at another time, but because Name, Image, and Likeness is going live on July 1st, which is we're recording this on Wednesday night. I think we should talk about it before it becomes a thing, but I don't think we need to spend a ton of time on it because, I mean, I admit that I don't know all the ins and outs and all the intricacies and the details and the fine print about what's okay, what's not, what's allowed, what isn't. But I really think it's going to shake the world of college athletics in a way that might not be that good. And I want to be completely upfront and open and honest. And me and Chris talked about this before we started recording. I've always been like very confused about. I never thought that the players should be paid by the school. I thought that what they get in terms of the education, the free education, the room and board, the access to the best trainers in the world, the medical care, the food, all of that is unbelievable. I mean, as a college kid who did it the other way, I would have traded spots with one of those guys in an absolute heartbeat and been completely happy about it. However, it has always been crazy and wrong and so weird and stupid to me that a guy can't write his name on a piece of paper and get paid for that. That doesn't make any sense to me. So name, image, and likeness is going to try to correct that, at least on the surface. Like, that's where so many question marks are coming in for me. Like, what is going to be allowed and what isn't? Are you going to be able to have a big booster, put together like an organized event and pay every football player there $20,000 just to be there because there's some sponsorship opportunities for the business side of things or potential customers? I just think, like, if there's a way to skirt rules and exploit them and blow this thing wide open, it's probably already being figured out, and like programs just can't even wait for midnight to hit so they can start putting money in kids' accounts. Like, I'm just really curious to see how this thing goes. Chris, take the floor for a minute because I have to plug in my computer or we're going to lose our stream. So ready, set, and go.
Well, so here's where I'm at when it comes to NIL. I think that, it's just like with the college football playoff. Everybody sort of knew that this was the direction that college football had to go, right? That we needed something other than just the bowl season to make everything meaningful and to make it more competitive, make it more interesting for the fans. And so we come up with a 4-team playoff. And now that we've been in it for a while, you can see what some of the benefits are, what some of the drawbacks are. And I view the same thing when it comes to the NIL stuff. I think that I agree with you, Brandon. It's ridiculous to me that an athlete can't sign a mini helmet and get paid for their signature on a mini helmet. But it also calls into question, like, you and I will both admit we're not, we don't know all the ins and outs of how this is going to work, but it is going to fundamentally change college football, moving forward. And we talked about this before we hopped on. Once you allow college athletes to accept money for name, image, and likeness, you're not putting that genie back in the bottle, right? That's opened up. And so I think what's going to happen is this thing is going to have to be out there for a year or so. You're going to see some of the benefits. You're going to see some of the, like, oh, shit, I can't believe this happened, or this is what happened, and they're going to have to find a way to sort of modify or make this thing work as time goes on. I think that this is a necessary step. You have to free up college athletes to be able to profit off of who they are as people. And if you're a fan of a free market, like, that's how things work. Like, you're worth whatever somebody says you're worth. And we've used the analogy before, the example that if you're on music scholarship at a university, there's no reason why you can't play at a local nightclub and be paid and be compensated, right? Something to that effect.
Right.
So I think it's good. I think it's time that, we allow student athletes to profit off of their name, their image, their likeness. But I also think you're going to see over the next year, you're going to see some stories pop up where it becomes an issue. And at some point, everybody's going to have to come together and make it work so that it doesn't become the wild, wild west. And you don't have these, you're opening up Pandora's box. And people are going to try to take advantage of this by any means necessary to get whatever kid they want on campus. And so we'll find out what the downside is pretty quickly here.
And one of the things that I'm most concerned about personally and for our own interests with covering Michigan is I have heard that Michigan hasn't done a thing with it yet.
Yeah.
Which it blows my mind. At a university like Michigan with the resources that they have and the brand identity and the international, not national, the international reach that they have with that Block M and everything that the University of Michigan stands for, that you see programs like Washington and Louisville and Michigan State and Ohio State, and I'm sure there are many others. Those are just a few that I've seen come across my timeline on Twitter, have already created and announced full-fledged programs to educate their players and athletes on what to do, how to do it, ways that they can capitalize on this, opportunities that they can get involved in. And then you have Michigan, who, by all accounts, hasn't done anything. I mean, we've checked on this. We have asked multiple people. We have multiple people who have checked on this with other sports. It's not just this is not just a football thing. This is everybody.
Let me put it this way: we've checked with people who would or should know for sure whether or not this is happening, and neither one of us got a response back that was like yes, and here's what it is. It was more of like I think
they might be doing something. No, like, dude, if you knew if it was happening and it was put together, you would know.
Yep.
I mean, like, I think it was called Evergreen at Michigan State, and maybe like Flight at Louisville, and maybe Elevate at Iowa. I know Washington partnered with a firm that was like involved in strategic branding and stuff like that. So Ohio State had an entire, this was months ago, Ohio State had an entire presentation with like the president of the university, some different business people, where I would assume it was damn near mandatory, because it looked like the entire football, and not only would it be, I don't know why you wouldn't want to go. You talk to kids who have been talking about wanting to get paid for however long, and now you've got an opportunity to. Let's go figure out how it works. Yeah. But the entire roster sitting in the football buildings with giant screens going through presentations, and this is what's okay, this is what's not, this is what you can do, this is what you should do. I cannot believe at a place like Michigan that they are not on like the cutting edge of this thing, and just ready to just break the doors down tomorrow when this thing, or July 1st when this thing goes live.
Well, especially if you're asking yourself, like, if you're one of those fans that says, how can Michigan compete on the recruiting trail with Alabama and Clemson and Ohio State, and this is how you do it. You put together a program for these kids, and you take full advantage of the brand that is the University of Michigan, arguably the biggest brand in college athletics anywhere. So you use that to your advantage, and we've talked a little bit about this offline. I personally find it hard to believe that Michigan hasn't been very, very hard at work behind the scenes, putting together something so that, these student athletes can capitalize. But based on what we've heard directly from people who should know about this, the lack of knowledge is concerning, to say the least.
This is what I was told in that regard, is that Ward Manuel and the athletic department was waiting for it to go official before they started to hire firms and put anything in motion and really step into that arena.
Then they're behind.
Then they're insanely behind. So far behind it's not even funny. And dumb. I there's no other way to put it. Like, they're when you see all these other schools doing it, what the hell are you waiting for?
Yeah.
And like you just said, and like I've said, and like I agree with, like, anything that has to do with like business and finance and branding and marketing, Michigan literally should, would, and could spank just about every school in the country.
Yeah.
In this world.
That's why I can't. I just can't bring myself to believe that. I feel like there's something there. There has to be some. Brandon, if there's not anything there, there's that out of any issue we've discussed with the University of Michigan, that will blow my mind the most. Like, if they've known this thing is coming and there is not like a concrete thing in place, they've got a name for it, they know how they're going to implement it. Like,
if that's your favorite hat, take it off. I don't want it to get ruined, because I think your mind is about to be blown, because everything that I've heard, and I don't want to put too much information out there that I've just been told, not with the intention of me spewing it out on the live stream, but there are players and athletes in other sports other than football who are extremely marketable and have very bright futures when it comes to their professional money-making careers that have done nothing with NIL. Not a thing. And everybody's just kind of fending for themselves at this point, and like we talked about, putting a little message out on your story on Instagram is not it, dude. It's that's that you might get a little bit here, a little bit there, but like there needed to be. I mean, it's 9:00 on Wednesday night before this thing goes live in 3 hours. Like it's too late. You can't start.
If you're going to sit down in a boardroom tomorrow and try to figure out how to make this whole thing work, then you might as well not even do it. You're that far behind. I mean, you're at least a year behind.
I think
at least.
I think so. I think yes. I think so. I think I was going to say 6 to 8 months, but you're probably right. I think it's longer than that. I think it's longer.
Yeah, I mean,
than that.
they've known this thing was coming for a long, long time.
We'll see. I mean, we'll see. And like I said, I wish I had been a little bit more plugged into it all along, so I was a little bit more prepared to, or knew what to expect when it does go live. But I mean, like, that's not exactly like what we're doing. I mean, that's not a big and specific thing. Like, it's going to be something that all of us learn about as we go, but it's not something that I've been writing, an investigative report on or like an op-ed type. I mean, I just haven't paid that close attention to it. I mean, I'm mostly concerned about NCAA football coming back to the Xbox, if I'm going to be honest with you.
That's what it's all about for me.
That's what it's all about. All right, dude, one of our best episodes. I'm going to put that up there as one of our better episodes. I wish we would have had a bigger crowd. I think it was good, man. I really liked well, apparently not. You thought it sucked. All right, we'll be back on Friday. What's going on over the next couple of days, man? I don't even know. Do you know today's my birthday, dude? I'm just going to throw that out there.
I did not know that, and now I feel awful. So
it's whatever, man. It's fine.
All right. I'll be sending you something later.
I was thinking about, like, I don't doubt he even knows. How would he know? Like, I don't think he would know, but I don't know if you've noticed, but my phone has blown up like 10 times since we've been sitting here. My sister,
unless we share the same birthday, which would make sense given all the
everything
other
else.
Similarity, right? Yeah.
Yeah, no, my sister's tried to FaceTime me like 2 or 3 times. A couple of my buddies have texted me, so I've been trying to surf through those a little bit while we're going here. But
right on.
37, dude, whack, not cool. I mean,
I've been there for a minute. I've been there since February.
I was gonna say, I think you're already there, so it's it's not. I'm not like out just getting after it. But anyway, it was a decent day. Solid day with my wife and kid. She made me an awesome cake, dairy free. My son jumped all over it. He was having a blast with the cake. Got a sweet hat embroidered with my business name on the side of it.
Wow.
You'll see that at the next camp. I'm excited about that. And then my parents are coming this weekend to watch the little guy one of the days, and I think we're going to go out to dinner or something. And our anniversary is the 4th, so that's coming up too. So
awesome, man.
Yeah, and then the 4th is coming up, obviously, for everybody else. So we'll talk again on what will it be, the 2nd, and we'll see what else we need to discuss on Friday. Chris, give us some closing remarks. You got any? I just kind of hogged the floor right there for a minute.
I mean, all I'm going to say, man, is like football is what,
66. I looked today.
66 days away
for Michigan. It's even less than that for the kickoff of the season.
We are so damn close. I just, let's really enjoy this time with our family, and where it's not, because if you're anything like me, when Michigan football kicks off, I spend every single day and week I'm thinking about the season. I'm all into it. So, there's not that much time until we officially kick off. And, man, I feel like we say it every time we're on, but I'm just so excited for it. Like, for me, personally, that's going to be the first real, hey, we're back. And Michigan just put out, that little video today, the full capacity. Yeah. So, for anybody who was skeptical or on the fence, man, we're back at full capacity, and it's just going to be such an awesome time.
I was talking to my wife about that. That's the first official word of that, isn't it?
That's the it
kind of seemed obvious, but
Michigan hadn't come out and said anything, to my knowledge, at least officially, that they were going to be at full capacity. So today was the first inkling that was going to happen. I mean, the video flat out said full capacity. So
yeah, there were no minced words, right?
Dude,
yeah.
It's going to be, I don't know, man. It's just going to be such a special time to be a sports fan, for us, for people that haven't, I haven't taken in any baseball game. I haven't been in a big crowd since this whole thing happened. So I'm looking forward to the kickoff of the season for a number of reasons, but it's going to be it's just going to be special.
I'm excited for you to experience that, man. The
Yeah.
first game back against Western to meet up with you wherever we're going to meet up and walk into there and go up
Yeah,
up the elevators to the press box. I remember what that was like for me. Not 7 seasons ago, 8 seasons ago, and it was surreal. I really legitimately almost had to pinch myself and be like, I'm getting paid for this. Are you shitting me right now? This is insane, dude. And it is, man. It's really cool. I've grown to be a little bit jaded and insensitive to it now because it's just part of the routine. But after missing it for a year, dude, I'm amped to get back to it.
Yeah.
I'm really excited to just be around the vibe and the energy of a college football Saturday in freaking Ann Arbor, man, which is one of the best college towns in the country, dude. So
yeah.
I'm excited for you for that as well. So that's there you go. That's a good way to close this out. We'll be back on Friday. We might even cry on Friday. We're pretty close right now, so
might.
we'll see what happens. But thanks for listening, everybody. We'll see you in a couple days.